The first thing I want to talk about is behavior modification. When I was a special ed teacher, it was ingrained in us. This is how you get special needs students to produce and to learn with point systems and rewards. And we knew nothing about the research that was done, that has been done or has been done since then on motivation. One of the books that I particularly like is this book by Daniel Pink called Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. And he goes into the research on motivation, and here are some of the things that he found. One of the things that carrots and sticks do is they extinguish extrinsic motivation. So students aren't doing it because they want to, they're doing it to get a reward. Also, they can diminish performance. This sounds kind of counterintuitive, but think about it, that if students are doing something for a reward, it's not something that they're doing on their own, and they're really in what we call flow. They're doing it because they want to get a reward. The third thing is they can crush creativity. If people are just looking for the next reward, they're not thinking outside the box. And one of the things that can crowd out good behavior. Again, this sounds counterintuitive. How can giving rewards crowd out good behavior? But it does. We are talking about rewarding specific things, so we're not teaching students how they should behave. And that's one of the things I'll talk about in the next couple of slides, is that if we want students to behave a certain way, we have to teach them how to do it. And then we have to keep practicing it. But rewarding it doesn't create good behavior. Also can encourage cheating, shortcuts, and unethical behavior. And this has been shown in business. I mean, we don't have to go into Madoff or people like that, or the economic crisis that we're slowly working our way out of. But this is what happens when people are focused on rewards, is that they become unethical to get them. And all of the television shows, reality shows, everything is what makes good reading and good viewing is when people are doing this, when they're cheating and murdering people. In Boardwalk Empire and shows like The Sopranos, and this is what happens. People are focused on the reward rather than the behavior, the good behavior. Also, that can become addictive, that students won't do it without it. And that's not what we're trying to encourage. And it also fosters short-term thinking. They're looking for the next reward. They're not looking ahead and in the long run. So these are what Pink calls the 7 deadly flaws of the carrot and stick motivation. Carrots being rewards, sticks being punishments. So this is something to keep in mind. I'm not saying you should scrap. If you're in a classroom now that has a behavioral system where you're rewarding points, well, you need to talk about it. Get this book, make it a study group or a book study, and talk about how you can change that. And there are ways to do that. And one of the things that you should be looking at is this book by Eric Jensen. Eric Jensen has been writing and has written prolifically on teaching with the brain in mind, how the brain affects students' learning. And this book is one of the best books I've seen about teaching kids with poverty, and about the brain research and what happens to kids in poverty. And one of the things that he talks about is, rather than feeling sorry for these kids, is to change your culture from pity to empathy. We need to speak respectively, not condescendingly, and I've heard this even with kids that aren't from poverty. Oh, nice of you to show up on time today. Kid comes to class on time who's habitually late, and that's how he gets treated, condescendingly. Oh, thanks for making it on time. Using positive affirmations, and that's really difficult to do with kids from Positive. Hey, I like the way you're dressed today, or I like how you're looking today. I like your attitude. I like that smile. Find something to use in a positive way rather than constantly, and it becomes a habit. And it same goes for a family, a relationship, a marriage, is that if you're in the habit of constantly finding or looking for the negative, that's all you'll find. It's very difficult to use positive affirmations. And this one is big. Every proper response that you don't see at your school is one you should be teaching. And this is something that I was really impressed with when I observed classrooms at Success Academy, is they spend a good deal of time working on the proper behavior that students should have. And this is something that you should spend the first 2-3 weeks of the school year working on, building culture and teaching the behaviors that we want. How do kids track when you're speaking? How do kids track when other kids are speaking? There's a behavioral strategy called the No Nonsense Nurturer program. Now, this is a program developed by Lee Cantor and others, but it's along the same lines of teaching students how you want them to behave. And one of the things that I like to show is this is what Jensen calls the emotional keyboard. There are only 6 things that are hardwired into a student's brain when they're born: sadness, joy, disgust, anger, surprise, and fear. That's it. You don't have to teach those. You don't have to teach fear. You don't have to teach anger, etc., etc. But the ones on the left and the right, you do have to teach: humility, forgiveness, empathy, optimism, compassion, sympathy, patience, shame, cooperation, gratitude. Those kids don't come to school with those. Many of them have not learned those things. And so we get angry. We get angry when they don't show them. And that's not right, because no one's taught them that. It's like adults, when an adult doesn't act a certain way, it was, well, what was their training? When we see an adult that doesn't show empathy or compassion, no one taught them. Not to say that they shouldn't be learning it on their own now, but that's a big key. So I was talking about Success Academy. They teach kids how to do this. They have sessions at the end where you compliment kids. I like the way so-and-so did that. I like the way Jimmy did that. I think Joe was listening very well today. And that's what you have to do. It's like with cooperative learning. People complain about cooperative learning, but they never teach students how to cooperate. And then they never have students process it. I was taking turns today. I was listening actively today, et cetera, et cetera. So other things is giving respect to students first when they seem least to deserve it. And this is one thing I preach all the time about. When you go into a school building, you got to leave your ego outside in the street somewhere, or even better yet, send it to the landfill. Although we do need our ego to survive, the ego most of the time gets in our way. When you hear your ego saying, when you hear this voice in your head saying, "Who do you think you are?" That's your ego. It's your ego saying, "I'm the boss, and don't you forget it." And that's not. Kids don't react to that. We need to give kids choices. We need to model a process of adult thinking. This is how I'm doing it here. I got stuck on this, but I'm looking for clues now and things like that. That's how we model adult thinking. And the last thing is to discipline through positive relationships rather than a token system. This is what lasts. This is what stays with kids. So this is my little divergence something that you can look at and say, ah, God, I'm going to investigate that a little further. I don't expect you to go walk away from this and saying, okay. Now, what I would like you to do is get this book and read it, or get Daniel Pink's book and read it, and start talking about it with people in your school. So that's it. That's my one push for teaching kids with poverty from low-income neighborhoods.